pastor here at Queen Street United Methodist Church in downtown Kinston, North Carolina. And we are so glad to have you aboard. This is the Wesley Bible class, and the part of the Bible that we are classifying is the book of Judges. We're going to do the 11th chapter beginning at verse 12. And this has to do with a man named Jephthah. Jephthah is now a judge, mostly over the tribe of Gilead, and they've selected him to be the leader. Right now, it looks like the whole decision about Jephthah being a judge is not that God selected Jephthah, but we'll see whether or not God will endorse Jephthah as a judge. But they have an impending war with the Ammonites. Now, these are Gilead and Ammon are both on the east side of the Jordan River. So Gilead was one of the a segment of a tribe that settled on the east side of the river during the Exodus and participated in the conquest of Canaan on the west side of the river. And a lot of the sanctuary cities were on the east side of the river. Levites had a lot to do with what was going on, but you don't hear a lot about Levites or priests or anything in the book of Judges. The judges are essentially warlords. They are tribal, and we're going to see some tribal animosities going on in the midst of all of this. So let's just get into it. After a time, the Ammonites made war against Israel, and when the Ammonites made war against, I'm sorry, that's verse 4. I'm going down to verse 12, because we did that already. Then Jephthah sent messengers to the king of the Ammonites. What is there between you and me that you have come to me to fight against my land? My land, okay? The king of the Ammonites answered the messengers of Jephthah, because Israel, on coming from Egypt, took away my land from Ammon to the Jabbok, that's a river, and to the Jordan. Now therefore restore it peaceably. Okay? Understand, this is something that happened a long time ago. Right? Okay. Once again, Jephthah sent messengers to the king of the Ammonites and said to him, thus says Jephthah, Israel did not take away the land of Moab or the land of the Ammonites, but when they came up from Egypt, Israel went through the wilderness to the Red Sea and came to Kadesh. Israel then sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, let us pass through your land. But the king of Edom would not listen. They also sent to the king of Moab, but he would not consent. So Israel remained at Kadesh. Then they journeyed through the wilderness and went around the land of Edom and the land of Moab, arrived on the east side of the land of Moab, and camped on the other side of the Arnon. They did not enter the territory of Moab, for the Arnon was the boundary of Moab. Israel then sent messengers to King Sihon of the Ammonites. King Heshbon of Israel said to him, and see, this doesn't make sense, because this is the Exodus and there aren't any kings of Israel. Okay, so something is discombobulated here. King of Heshbon in Israel said to him, oh wait a minute, he was king of Sihon of the Amorites, and he was also king of Heshbon. My error. Okay, so Israel said to him, let us pass through your land to our country. But Sihon did not trust Israel to pass through his territory, so Sihon gathered all his people together and encamped at Jahaz and fought with Israel. Then the Lord, the God of Israel, gave Sihon and all of his people into the hand of Israel, and they defeated them. So Israel occupied all the land of the Amorites who inhabited that country. They occupied all the territory of the Amorites from the Arnon to the Jabbok and from the wilderness to the Jordan. So now the Lord God of Israel has conquered the Amorites for the benefit of his people. Okay, you getting all that? Okay, so what's going on is Israel has tried to go through Moabite territory, and the king said, no, you can't come through here. And so they wanted to go through another territory, and the other king said, no, you can't come through here. And then they were camped on, they went around those territories, okay, big detour, and they came to the land of the Amorites, and they said to the Amorite king, we want to go through your territory, and we won't mess with anything, we won't touch anything, okay, we'll pay our way, you'll make money by having us come through your land, because we'll buy our food from you, and all of this. And the Amorite king didn't trust them, so he decided to attack them instead. Whereas the other kings just said, no, you can't come. The Amorite king said, we're going to attack you, okay? And he must have thought that he would be able to plunder them. It wasn't, he must have felt like, okay, they bumped up against the Moabites and these other people, and they told him no, and so they backed down. So if they're going to back down from the Moabites, they must not be very powerful, right? So maybe I can plunder them. So he decides to attack them, and in the process of attacking him, they lose. So what happens when you have a war and you lose?
Lose your land.
You kind of lose your land, okay? And understand now, everybody thinking, pagan, Israelite, okay? If you win, your God won. So this is the decision of the gods, okay? So the Israelite God is more powerful than the Amorite God, and I mean, we're just doing, what God wants us to do. So it's not, no animosity there. We just, and you attacked us. So this is, okay, what's the parallel? The parallel is in 1948, the state of Israel, the nation of Israel, is established by a United Nations decree. Okay? The Brits didn't know what to do with their territory because they owned all of it. The Brits owned Jordan, they owned Syria, they owned all of what is now Israel. They owned Saudi Arabia. They owned Iraq. Okay? So the Brits had all of this territory and they couldn't manage it. And there was a mandate way, way before World War II that a nation of Israel would be established. That was part of a mandate that was already contracted before the UN ever voted on it. That was the intention of the British, was to establish a Jewish state in their ancient homeland. Okay? Because a lot of the British generals that were involved, like Allenby, they were very pro-Jewish state. They felt like they were biblically oriented, and they felt like this was the promised land, and since they had it, why not give it to the people God promised it to? So that was the attitude of the British back in the 1920s. And so they had already decided to have a state of Israel, okay? But they're still trying to manage this colony, and then World War II happens. I mean, they took it from the Ottoman Empire, and then World War II happens, and the United Nations is established, and they say, well, let's get the decision monkey off of our back and put it before the United Nations, and they did. And 1948, the UN, which now hates Israel in every form, and does everything it can to undermine it and terrorize the people, the United Nations voted to establish the state of Israel. And then Israel was attacked. Israel was attacked by Lebanon, the new state of Jordan, Syria, Egypt, which the Brits also own. All these territories came in to attack Israel. And the Brits and the United Nations already had a territory carved out that was really, really small for Israel. And the Arabs lost. And the Israelites took over Arab territory. as a result. Why? Because they lost. Okay? And when you lose, what does the word lose mean? It means you lost something, and they lost their land. Okay? So Israel now is larger than what the UN mandated, but Israel has established itself and has for years as a nation state and controls these territories. The only territory that's really kind of up, there were two territories that were kind of up in the air. One of them was the West Bank, okay, which is considered Judea and Samaria by the Israelis, and Gaza. And they conquered Gaza. The Israelis occupied Gaza, and they occupied the West Bank. One of the peace deals that they agreed to was they would withdraw from Gaza. And not only did they withdraw in terms of managing Gaza, they actually evicted all Jews from Gaza, their own people. They had to pack up and leave Gaza. So Gaza became entirely Arab. There is no...
What was the reason for them evicting all their people out of Gaza?
The reason for them to do it was that was part of the agreement, and the agreement was also that whatever Arab state was established in Gaza, and by the way, that used to be Egypt. Okay, Gaza used to be Egyptian territory.
Part of Egypt.
Yeah. And whatever was established there was supposed to recognize the state of Israel. So Israel evacuated that territory, but the people who took over never recognized the legitimacy of Israel or the state of Israel. They reneged on the agreement. Okay, which kind of brings us to where we are today. Also the West Bank, Israel evacuated the West, well, Israel still had people in the West Bank, but they turned control of it over, this is with Yasser Arafat, the negotiation, and Jimmy Carter and all that. They turned over, no, it was Clinton, I think. But anyway, they turned over the operation of the West Bank to the Palestinian Authority with the understanding that they would recognize and respect the state of Israel, which they never did.
Was it a written contract?
Yes. That was a written contract. Okay? And as soon as they had it, Yasser Arafat reneged on it. Or he wouldn't agree to it, or whatever. He walked off. And they offered him all that territory. And he would not take it because he could not recognize the state of Israel. So, da-da-da-da-da-da, you know. Anyway, Jephthah is arguing, you attacked us and you lost. So guess what? You lost. Okay? Okay. Edom and Moab and then da-da-da-da. Okay. All right.
Let me ask you a question about
Yeah.
Gaza.
Yeah.
Why you find your place. So, some things I've read, a lot of people in Gaza actually work in Israel.
Yes.
They would get, I mean, the middle class, I guess you would say, had jobs in Israel.
Yes.
Had visas, come work in hospitals.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of jobs.
Yep.
So who actually, and I know all the Hezbollah, whoever came over.
Hamas.
So, Hamas, there you go. So who, 20 years ago, who was ruling the Gaza Strip? Was it ruled by Syria or some
It
other
started out under a Palestinian Authority.
Yeah.
That was the first, okay? And then there was an election, and Hamas stole the election
Okay.
and annihilated the Palestinian Authority in Gaza.
Because probably, just kind of reading between the lines, there probably wasn't a lot of animosity between the middle class
No,
Palestinians in Gaza in Israel.
not really,
A
no.
lot of them worked there, from what I read.
They did, thousands of them, and
But
they
then you get
prospered.
this ruling authority that they're the ones upset the apple cart, I guess.
Yeah, and they all lost their jobs recently.
Yeah.
Guess what? Oh, and here's another little tidbit. Guess how many Gazans were allowed to work in Egypt?
0.
0.
Oh, Gazans Israelites, partly Israelite, or where were they? I mean, where are they originally from? People living in mostly
In Gaza?
Yeah.
Well,
I've always been
mostly
confused about that.
Egypt. They were Egyptian.
Egyptian?
They were Egyptian. Yeah. Until the big war, I think it was a 73 war where the Israelis took Gaza. I was almost in that. It was close.
They really should have kept it. But
Well, you know,
They
on
didn't want it.
hindsight, they should have kept it.
they didn't
Okay.
want it, that's what I understand.
Well, they really didn't. They didn't want it because if they incorporated it into the state of Israel, the Arabs would outnumber the Jews, and then they would win
Okay,
elections,
that's
and so they didn't want to do it. So, but they were very generous in opening the gates and letting Gazans come in and work in Israel. The Egyptians, who control the southern border of Gaza, would never let the Gazans come into Egypt to work.
And why would they not?
Because the Gazans came under the control of Hamas, which is like the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt created civil war and assassinated the president of Egypt, and they didn't want anything to do with them. Just like Jordan, you know, the Palestinians who came into Jordan tried to overthrow the king of Jordan. And there was a big conflict, and a lot of Palestinians, the Jordanians, killed a lot of Palestinians who were technically had been Jordanians. Okay, and that's what the Black September movement was all about. It had nothing to do with Israel creating a massacre. The Jordanians massacred their people. So
So if we close our border, we don't have to worry about anybody overtaking our government.
this is okay. Let's just get back into this a little bit, okay? Because this is relevant. Okay. So they occupied all the territory of the Amorites from the Arnon to the Jabbok and from the wilderness to the Jordan. So now the Lord, the God of Israel, has conquered the Amorites for the benefit of the people of Israel. Do you intend to take their place? Should you not possess what your God Shamash gives to you to possess? Okay, Jephthah is a pretty smart guy, but the Amorites are kind of a subset of the Moabites. The Shamash is the god of the Moabites. The god of the Amorites is Moloch. And Moloch is a real creep. He demands child sacrifice. And, you got to sacrifice your firstborn to Moloch under their religion. And it was a terrible religion, very pagan. But the Amorites worship Moloch, not Shamash, but nonetheless, okay, he gives you to possess. And should not we be the ones to possess everything that that the Lord our God has conquered for our benefit? Now are you any better than the king Balak, son of Zippor of Moab? Did he enter into conflict with Israel, or did he even go to war with them? While Israel lived in Heshbon and its villages, and Aurora and its villages, and all the towns that are along Arnon, 300 years. Why did you not recover them within that time? It is not I who have sinned against you, but you are the ones who do me wrong by making war on me. Let the Lord who is judge decide today for the Israelites or for the Ammonites. But the king of the Ammonites did not heed the message that Jephthah sent to him. Okay, so he's trying a diplomatic thing. All right, so the claim that the Ammonites have is 300 years old. That's longer than the United States has been around. Okay? So it's like Canada saying, well, you know, Maine and New Hampshire used to be part of the British Empire, and I think we need to take it back. Or, what is actually going on today is that many of the guest residents that we have from Mexico have decided that it's time for Mexico to take back the territory that they lost in the Mexican-American War, namely California and New Mexico and large sections of Texas. So they think that they have a claim to that because it used to be Mexico. Well, it kind of was Mexico. It was mostly Indian. You know.
What's the difference between Mexicans and Indians anyway?
The Mexicans are Spanish descent. They were Spanish immigrants who took over territory from the Native Americans who lived in all of Mexico and South America, except for one section that the Portuguese had, which is Brazil. So the Spanish were what we call unwelcome immigrants into Central and South America and Mexico. And they had communities in California, but most of the territory that the Mexicans claimed was actually run by Native Americans who were so fierce that the Mexicans couldn't kick them out. And so you look at, you know, on paper, that territory belonged to Mexico. In actuality, they couldn't run it. They could not manage that territory. So they just claimed it because the King of Spain said, it's ours. Okay? But it wasn't really theirs.
Did they plant a flag on it?
They planted a flag in a couple of places. Okay? Yeah. But most of that territory was actually run by some pretty fierce tribes, and the Mexicans didn't have the power to overwhelm them. The United States ultimately did. But and we were in league with those tribes. The Texans and the Indians. The Texans sponsored raids by Indians into Mexican territory, south. And then they would take the spoils and bring them up to Texas and have a great yard sale. And that's, you know, we got along with them as long as it was profitable. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of that happened, by the way, before Texas became a state. It was a nation first. And it was Mexico first, and then it became a nation, and then it became the United States. So.
Texas used to be a separate nation from
Yes,
the United States.
it was his own country. Texas is the only state. Texas is the only state that had its own nationality before it became a state.
That's amazing. I never knew that.
Yep. So anyway, the Ammonites are making a 300-year-old claim against the territory. Okay. The only reason that they've waited 300 years is that it took them that long to get strong enough to think that they could kick them out. And guess what? That's how it works. Okay? Russia thought that they were strong enough to kick out the Ukrainians. Hasn't quite worked out that way. You know? Before dumb people start wars. I want to tell you that. Dumb people start wars. Okay? Smart people have a tendency to finish them. The Ukrainians are a lot smarter than the Russians who were attacking them. That doesn't mean that the Russians aren't powerful enough or that Ukraine is not in jeopardy. But man, the Russians have lost over 1 million men in that war. Over 1 million. We lost 50,000 in Vietnam and thought it was a tragedy. It was. They lose 50,000 in a couple of months. Last month they lost 25,000 troops
Where?
in Ukraine.
Last month.
Last month.
USA?
Yeah.
Huh?
We lost?
No, the Russians did.
But I thought Ukraine was the one that had lost 25.
No,
It was Russia?
yeah,
Yeah, I read that wrong then.
yeah. The Russians have been trying for over a year to take over a small decimated city called Pokrovsk, and they have semi-surrounded it, and it's just turned into a killing field, and they have lost every bit of equipment that they tried to bring in there. They've lost all the troops that they tried to bring in there. They're actually down to running motorcycles in because they don't have tanks. It's, you know,
Again, we're getting off the subject.
We are.
You would think the Russians would take Putin out. He's the only one behind this. The country is not behind that.
well, you're seeing people who have the potential of taking him out being taken out.
Yeah, that's about
Right,
true.
exactly. But don't the people, because he's here, people are hearing what he wants them to hear. So
Yes.
they're,
Yeah, he shut down the internet
yeah.
in
So
Russia.
they're
He shut down the
backing
internet.
him.
But the military knows what's going on.
Well, we
The
hope.
generals know
Yeah,
what's going
yeah.
on. I just can't believe somebody.
The Russians shut down the internet?
In
For
Russia,
their country.
Wow.
yes. And they ostensibly, it's because the Ukrainians are using the internet as a way of controlling the drones that they're flying into Russia. Okay, but really the Russians are shutting down the internet because they don't want anybody to know what's actually going on in Ukraine. So, yeah, it's tough, and they're, well, that war is not going well for Russia. And right now, they're making some absolutely absurd demands, and we seem to be parroting them, and I don't know why.
I don't either. I don't either.
It doesn't make any sense to me at all. But anyway, things, the longer this goes on, the worse it is for Russia. They have just lost all of the gas stations and refineries that they had in Western Europe. Those are all gone. And they've turned them over. Basically, what the Europeans have done is they have shifted control of those gas stations from Russia to a country called Kazakhstan that used to be at war with Armenia. Now they're friends. And they are friends of us. They used to be under the Russian thumb. They used to be Russia. And now, on the southern border, you have two countries that are switching allegiances to Western Europe. And so the Kazakhs, who are on the other side of Turkey, are controlling the former Russian gas distribution networks that were in Western Europe and all of the refineries. The Russians have lost their total access to European markets. And it's just, you know, I don't know how much more they can take, but Putin was ostensibly going into Ukraine in order to keep them from joining NATO. As a result of that, Finland and Sweden have joined NATO. Okay, the Baltic states have closed their border entirely with Russia. Poland has closed its border to Russia. Okay, Moldova has voted in favor of Western Europe versus Russia. Armenia and Kazakhstan are no longer in the Russian sphere on their southern border. Everything that Putin has done has been a total disaster. Everything that he tried to do, he has made absolutely worse. He's lost his economy. They don't have the reserves. They've lost like 40% of their ability to produce oil and gasoline. They just, I mean, why they're keeping on with this and making outrageous demands, like for territory that they haven't conquered, you know, duh. Anyway, it's stupid. So anyway, the Amorites lost.
And they lost their land.
And they lost their land. And we'll get into Jephthah's vow next time, okay? And that's another disaster.
Okay, I want to go back. Does Russia get their gas from Germany, or does Germany get their gas from Russia? Was there a tunnel?
Germany used to get its gas from Russia.
Was there a
Russia has a lot of
tunnel?
oil.
Was
Russia-
there something that was
A lot of oil
built
reserves.
just?
There are only
to
two
get-
things that Russia does. They pump oil,
Uh-huh.
okay, and they make weapons.
Oh.
And if you're talking about export, those are the only two things that anybody ever buys from Russia. Everything, and the military stuff that they're producing is advertised way past its capacity. Okay, they make really lousy equipment. Really lousy. So do the Chinese, by the way. So, anyway.
So I want to understand
Yes.
this too. We will not, Ukraine is not allowed to join NATO.
No,
Because if they do, and someone else, if they're in NATO, we have a responsibility to go in and fight them.
Yes, that's
the
All of
reason.
NATO does.
Yeah,
All of NATO does.
Right, so they don't want them in, because if they do, then we're gonna, because we say we will defend.
what is going to happen, this is what's going to take place after this thing is over, okay? Ukraine is going to join the European Union, and they will be an extremely valuable member of the European Union, okay? Especially if they can, the main thing holding Ukraine back from joining the European Union right now is that there are some defense issues in being part of the European Union that are not NATO, okay? But there's kind of a mutual defense thing because other countries will have an economic interest in Ukraine. Ukraine is going to contribute mightily because they are, technologically, they're a phenomenal country. They really are. I mean, these are smart people. I don't know if you ever saw the Antonov coming into the Global Transport to pick up Airbus parts, okay? But that's a Ukrainian plane.
Really?
Oh, yes, they are manufactured in Ukraine. I mean, that's just typical, you know, and what they've been able to do on the fly has been just remarkable.
Is that because of their leader, because of Zelensky, or is it because of who's
I think
surrounding
because they
them?
have a better education system than we do.
That's right.
Yeah, but if they can eliminate their corruption, and they are terribly corrupt,
They're terribly corrupt.
if they can eliminate the corruption, they can join the European Union, okay? And they're taking,
Russia's,
Ukraine.
No,
Ukraine. Well, Russia is just horribly corrupt.
They're beyond
Horrible.
that.
We all know that, but
That's-
Ukraine is
The
just.
corruption,
ain't Russia and Germany pretty much the same close country?
no,
Where's
no, Germany is a democracy. Russia is a fascist
democracy.
dictatorship,
The only country Russia's close to is China.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I had the silly question I had a while ago. My heart is going out to all the poor immigrants. Being,
Are immigrants?
isn't it wrong, all the Mexican and Cuban immigrants, they are being treated just
They are-
suddenly hauled off after
My
spending
heart
a
goes
lifetime
out,
maybe?
my heart goes out to legal immigrants. My heart does not go out to illegal immigrants.
Oh.
Now, if I find one who is desperate or in need or something like that, as a Christian, I'm going to look after their needs as best I can. But when you start talking about immigrants having a right to something that is charitable, that's wrong,
That's right. I agree. That's right.
okay? And these immigrants are not being persecuted, okay? These immigrants are being evicted because they don't belong here.
Okay. I just feel sorry for some of them, and I know they spent a lifetime
Well, you know,
here,
they
but
put
their
themselves-
parents
they
came
put
and
themselves in
gave
that
birth to
position.
them, and they grew up here.
There's a legal
Well-
way you can come in this country.
Mhm.
Right.
Opening the gates and letting everybody walk in is not the way.
Not the way.
Okay, yeah, you made
And then
that.
we're
Makes a
having to
good point.
watch what's happening to those people, and we feel sorry for them, because they're going to take them out of their homes and take them away from their
Right.
jobs, but they didn't come the right way in the first place.
What they need
Gotcha.
to do is to go back to their countries and fix them.
That's true.
Why?
But aren't they running away from,
Yes, but we didn't, as a nation, we did not run away. We fixed it,
Okay, gotcha.
okay? We didn't go immigrating to some other country in order to get away from, we didn't immigrate to some other country because we thought that we wouldn't, our freedoms here in this country weren't that valuable.
All the riots that are going on over here should be going on over there.
They should be going to their own countries and fixing their countries.
Yeah.
If they like what the United States
makes
is all
sense.
about, then make it all about that in their country. Because that's their responsibility. They're citizens of those countries. Okay? And citizens get, I don't care if it's a dictatorship or whatever, okay? Citizens get whatever they tolerate in their country.
Okay. Good for Well, I hope y'all don't think I'm stupid for asking that. I just
No, no,
like to
not
know.
at all, not at all.
Valid
My heart
question.
leaves me everywhere. It gets me in
Well,
trouble.
a lot of
a
people
lot.
feel like you do, that,
Right.
you know, they come here, and personally, from my standpoint, the ones that've been here 10, 12, 15 years and have jobs and everything, they should be made a process to make them legal.
I agree.
But the ones that have just come over the border the last few years, those people, in my opinion, that might be ugly, but they should be sent back to their own country. And if they want to apply the right way through the process to come, do that.
Yeah,
I don't know how they kept up with everybody that came in.
They didn't.
They didn't. They just, I mean, they couldn't.
So how do they know now who to go to, you know,
They
where
don't.
Charlotte?
They don't.
They just go and
they
take
just pick-
anybody?
they just
no,
see
no,
somebody
no,
walk
no,
up the
no,
street.
no,
Well, that's
no.
what it looks like.
That's a lot of it.
That's the propaganda. The people that they're going after have a criminal record here or a verified
But the
criminal
children
record in the
didn't.
country they came from.
But the children,
Not all of them.
when they talk
They're
about
getting
closing
some
the
that are
schools.
right.
The children, they are rescuing the children. They're being trafficked.
Yeah, but some of them are. Okay, I want to know about this because I felt like what I've read this week about Charlotte, that the schools were locked down.
Yeah, you know why? You know why? Because all those kids that stay out of school are here illegally.
I know, and that's my point. They're here
And they're
because
here-
of what their parents did.
Yes, they are. And guess what? If you're a kid, you should go with your parents.
That's true.
You know, I've never
I
understood.
mean, why deport the parents and not the kids?
Oh, I agree with you.
I mean,
agree
give me
with
a
you.
break.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's still,
It still touches your heart.
right.
But
If
you
you
know,
got a tender heart, it'll touch your heart.
They could have, in my opinion, they could have solved this fairly easy by going to the employers that are hiring these people.
Right.
You say, for every person you've got working for you that's illegal, it's a $25,000 fine.
Right.
And they don't do that. I think I saw this week that they went to some employer
Mhm.
for the first time. That's what they should have been doing all along.
That's exactly
These people
right.
have
That's a
hired
good
these
point.
people and are paying them very low wages and no taxes and all this kind of stuff.
And they're
And they don't want to
undercutting.
get rid of them.
They don't want to get rid
I
of
mean,
it.
it's the same way
Well,
with slavery.
No,
It's just like-
that's exactly right.
It's like in
Slavery,
California,
yeah, that's a
in
good one.
California, they said if they sent them all back, they'd have nobody to pick the crops.
Right, exactly.
Nobody to
Uh-huh.
work the streets and to clean, you know.
Clean the motels when people stay.
That's right.
Or, you know, whatever.
You got that
That's
right.
right.
See,
So,
the lady that cleans my house is Hispanic. And I don't dare ask, you know, I don't know whether
Are you
they're legal
legal
or
or
not.
not?
I've never asked her that. And
You
they
might-
have a child. Why?
You might wonder, because if it is determined that she is, and you've hired her, you're in legal jeopardy. You could get a $25,000 fine.
Rosa, are you illegal?
I'm just saying. If
see,
she,
and just going back to the farm laborers, there is a government program.
I'll see you
HB2
later.
or
We'll see you
something,
next week about
Where-
Jephthah.
Where
Vow.
you can bring illegals
But you
into
don't
the
need to
work.
be
in
But
this.
they don't do
Yeah.
that. Because you have to pay them something like $18 an hour.